After 9/11, there were other events that made me start to unpack some of the things I'd been taught about being a Christian. When I say unpack, I mean doubt or question, which is not a popular thing in lots of churches. Also, when I say taught, I don't necessarily mean Sunday school or from the pulpit. I mostly mean just absorbed from conversations and such. At one point, I had gone from working in a secular business to one that was expressly Christian. I was very excited about starting work at the Christian business because I thought that it would be a friendlier, honest, and more moral place to be than my former job. Turns out that messed up humans are everywhere, me included, and it was just as messed up as any other place I'd worked. The good thing about that was that years later, when I began full-time ministry in the church, my expectations weren't so high. And I knew that once I peeked behind the curtain, I wasn't going to be too surprised. This topic of human sexuality, though, it was really starting to gain traction in my denomination. I'm United Methodist, and I learned that there were people who felt strongly that being anything besides straight and cisgender was a sin, and other people who felt just as strongly that it wasn't. I knew the verses that the sin side pointed to that seemed to say that same-sex relationships were wrong, but I also knew that there were Jesus-loving people who landed in a different place. I started to wonder how they did it. What did they know that I didn't know? So I began to look for resources that would help explain it. I'm not going to lie, there really weren't a lot that I could find. This was 15 or 20 years ago. At least not like it is today. The one book I did find was Mel White's A Stranger at the Gate, To Be Gay and Christian in America. It was published in 1994. White had been a force in the conservative Christian church. He'd written speeches for Oliver North and had worked with Jerry Falwell and Billy Graham and others before he came out as a gay man. And that book launched me into a decades-long journey to find out not what other people thought about being gay, but what I thought God thought. There were lots of other things that bugged me about the church that I'll talk about as we go along. For instance, how anti-education, how anti-science some Christians are. My dad was a Christian and a science teacher. Also, how Christians see and treat others in other religions. And the question of where is God in human suffering? In addition to the topic of human sexuality.